You know, they got.
Call to order the Carver County Board of Commissioners, August 6, 2019 regular session. Would you please join me as we pay our respects to the nation's flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item on our agenda for today is the introduction of new employees. So can we take care of that item at this time?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. It's very nice for me to be standing up in front of you today and not asking for something. But I'm very, very excited to introduce two new employees that we have to Health and Human Services, just really indicating the growth that we're experiencing and the continued support that we are providing to our line employees. So today I have with me our new Deputy Division Director for Human Services, Heather Goodwin, and also our new Income Support Manager, Kate Probert. So if you guys want to come up and we'll have an opportunity to introduce yourself. Heather is actually on her second day, so I'm very glad that she showed up today again after her first day. Comes to us with extensive county experience, both in Steele and Freeborn County, and also with some extensive senior management experience in the South Lake Health Plan, which is a county-based purchase health plan. Kate comes to us most directly from Ramsey County, and prior to that, some experience in Anoka County too, very experienced in workforce services and working with our MFIT population. So I'll just let first Heather introduce herself and then Kate. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you, Rod. Again, I appreciate the introduction and I appreciate the opportunity to stand in front of all of you today. And again, I'm Heather Goodwin. I'm the new Deputy Director here on day 2, as Rod said, and I'm very happy to be here. I do come to Carver County with, as Rod said, 15 years plus of previous county experience. Worked in Freeborn County for many years and then Steele County in a supervisory capacity. Worked in the Health and Human Services arena there, and then did 6 years in senior management in an insurance kind of health plan, county-owned, county-based health plan that specialized working with this population, with our Medicaid, Medicare kind of population and our Minnesota healthcare programs. So I'm happy to be here, ready to get started, ready to start adding some value and getting to work. I did have an opportunity yesterday to already roll up my sleeves a little bit, and I'm ready to get to it today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kate Probert Fernandez. So actually come all the way from Russia originally. So I'm married to a gentleman from Brazil, so you can imagine the household gets quite funny. But I do come from background on workforce development, managing public assistance and placement people with barriers and disabilities through Rice Incorporated, Anoka County and Ramsey County. So I am a big believer in income increase to support families to succeed and to build prosperous communities that we all live and strive in. And of course, looking through the past, we can all collect to build a better future for our families and residents. So I'm looking forward to work in Carver County and trying to build that whole integrated system as we all striving to do together. So thank you.
Good. And traditionally, we have the walk around as you shake everybody's hand and we welcome you to the county. So if we can do that.
I see you again?
Yes, very good to
Yeah.
see you.
Good morning. Nice to meet you.
Next week, I don't know, I'm not making any promises.
Congratulations, glad to have you. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
Never asked, do you live in Carver County?
Welcome, we're glad to have you.
We live down, and
Want to get closer?
we are house shopping, actually.
Yes, they
Yeah,
are.
right now.
Having a little
Glad-
tough time.
Welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
No, not too bad.
Welcome.
Is Kate your real name?
All right.
Okay. Thanks for coming.
You're an awfully friendly person.
I noticed it. Oh, thank you. That's actually pretty good.
So our next item on the agenda is the public comments. Anyone wishing to address the County Board of Commissioners on an item not on the agenda may come forward at this time. Seeing no one, I see we have some scouts in the audience today, and I'd like to ask them to come forward and to introduce themselves to the board and maybe tell us what they're working on this time and why they're here.
All right, so I'm Nicholas.
I'm Sean.
So we're both from Boy Scout Troop 589 in Victoria, and we're working on this requirement we have to attend a public meeting and just kind of write about the viewpoints that were shared.
So the requirement, we need to attend a public meeting where several viewpoints are given on a single issue or matter. So that's what we're trying to look for today.
Yeah, and then you just need to provide a report on what was discussed, and I think that's it.
So you're Troop 589, is that correct? And out of Victoria, and who is your sponsoring organization? Is that
Yeah, so Mount Olivet.
Mount Olive Lutheran Church? All right, very good. All right, anything else you'd like to tell us before in a couple of years you'll be sitting up here in these jobs? And so,
Mr. Chair?
yes.
I'd like to welcome, I thought they were being punished.
Mr. Chairman.
Well, the meeting's not over yet, Commissioner Lynch. Commissioner Workman.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I spoke to the gentleman before. I promised that there probably wasn't the right agenda for some opposing views. They did suggest that
Oh, wait a minute, I disagree.
they didn't need opposing views, and Commissioner Degler and I decided we'd argue for 45 minutes about eliminating the park fees. And so we're going to see how that goes, and I'm sure Ishii will jump in. And
I'd like to know which position you're going to take, Commissioner Workman.
I like everything to be free, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, there you go. All right, well, do you have any questions for us? And I'm assuming this is for your citizen merit badge, am I correct in that assumption, or is that for
It's actually for communication, which
communications
is another Eagle
community?
Rider
Okay,
badge.
very good. Very good, and you're both up for Eagle Scout, or where are you at in your progression?
We're both at Life Scout, which is just one rank below Eagle.
I'm sorry, Star you said?
Life Scout.
Life Scouts,
Both
okay.
one rank below Eagle.
All right, very good. Well, welcome, and I hope you enjoy watching democracy in action, so, at the local level. So, yep, thanks for being here, guys. You bet. All right, next item on the agenda is review and adoption. Is there a motion to approve the agenda before you?
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we adopt the proposed agenda.
Second.
All right, so we have Mr. Degler on the motion and Mr. Lynch on the second. Is there any further discussion regarding adopting the agenda for today? Seeing none, we'll move to the vote. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That motion prevails. The agenda has been adopted. Moving on to approval of the minutes for the July 16th, 2019 regular session. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Motion by Commissioner Ishii. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Workman. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll move on to the vote. All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That motion prevails. Those minutes are approved. Moving on to the next item on the agenda is our community announcements. Commissioner Degler, do you have community announcements today?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just remind everybody, town ball season is kind of wrapping up, and I just want to mention to support your local ball teams. The Chanhassen Redbirds, I think, are the #1 seed in this area, and the Chaska Cubs are right behind them, and they're both are in the playoffs, and actually, there's a game tonight for the Chaska Cubs. But the other thing I'd like to mention is transportation. If you're driving on 212 and County Road 44 in Chaska, you can expect delays because the right lane on westbound 212 will be closed for a number of weeks as they're working on the interchange there. So just be expecting it. It will just be slowed down for a little ways. And finally, I'd like to mention tonight is National Night Out. Get together with your community. It's a good time to get to meet your neighbors, support your neighbors, crime and drug prevention awareness. In Chaska, they're actually calling it Night to Unite. So get together in your neighborhood and support each other and be safe.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Ishii?
Yes, if I could, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just going to mention that the Carver County Fair is this week, and lots of stuff going on there. Officially starts tomorrow, but Monday and Tuesday are very busy days anymore as that fair continues to grow. And then the other one I would mention would be the oldest celebration in Minnesota, Stifton's Fest, which will be in Norwood, Young America, the last weekend of August. So both of those are great festivals to attend, and if you get a chance, stop by in either of those spots. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Not a waste of time to attend any of those events. So, anything else? Just piggybacking off Commissioner Degler, the Victoria Vics are also in the section playoffs, and they're in there for the running. And we were attending a game the other day, or the other evening there, and the Cubs are playing tonight. I'm not sure when the Redbirds are playing. I know that at the Cub home games that the hamburgers are delicious, and that you should just go down to the game and eat the hamburgers. But I won't.
Enjoy the game also, but.
Yeah, enjoy the game, but I won't be cooking hamburgers tonight, so if you want to stay away, no, I'm only. All right, so folks, that's our public announcements, community announcements at this time. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Mr. Chair, I'd move approval of the consent agenda and simply add, I see Maury Williamson from William Miller and Sons is here in regards to their environmental assessment worksheet. And you all got a copy of this document. If you took the time to go through it, it's extraordinarily thorough. And kudos to them for the work that they did putting this together. And with that, I'd move approval of the consent.
I would second, Mr. Chair.
Okay, the motion to approve the consent agenda by Commissioner Ishii, second by Commissioner Lynch. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll move on to the vote. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The consent agenda has been approved. Moving on to the next item, number 6, under our strategic plan that comes from communities, create, maintain safe, healthy, and livable communities. And our first item is park entrance fees. That's 6.1, and this will be a public hearing. Am I correct?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I would move that we open a public hearing to amend the county fee schedule.
So Commissioner Degler moves to open a public hearing, second by Commissioner Ishii. Any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. We are now in a public hearing. Mr. Marty Walsh will be doing our presentation. He's our Parks and Rec Director. Is that your official title? I should read the paper and see, but what's your official title, Marty?
Parks and Recreation Director.
Okay. And you're well paid for that, I know. And
Thank you. As you can see, Dave and I dressed alike. We got a memo this morning.
got the memo this
Our blue
morning.
shirts.
We'll have a vote on the ties a little later. Okay. Go ahead, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. Today, we are here to talk about the elimination of park entrance fees. And just a little bit of kind of the outline here. We'll talk a little bit about background, the recommended program, where the funding is coming from in terms of the commissioner contingency, some requested actions, and next steps. So just to kind of give you a little bit of background information, through several public input processes, and the one that I've highlighted here, the 2020 Comprehensive Plan, Parks, Open Space, and Trails, that's the post. We did receive a lot of feedback about eliminating park entrance fees. And some of the comments that we got back included, neighboring agencies such as Three Rivers Park District, which has both a park inside our county boundary and one on the edge of our county boundary, don't charge, nor does Scott County. Fees have been proven to be a barrier to use, and so that is also another factor which we've considered. And then there are other benefits, such as public health and quality of life. I had an opportunity just to visit here with Rod Franks moments ago to talk about sometimes people just need an hour or something like that near Lake Shore or near a wooded area to regroup. So it's an opportunity to, take a time out. In December 2018, we received direction to consider the elimination of park entrance fees. The Park Commission over the last several months has been considering that, what changes are brought about if we do eliminate park entrance fees. They made that recommendation to eliminate the fees in June. And then subsequently, we held a meeting with you in July to talk about that. So our program recommendation, effective December 1st, 2019, we would no longer charge entrance fees into our park areas. And our parks are Lake Minnewaska Regional Park, Waconia Regional Park, and Baylor Regional Park are the 3 regional parks that the county administers. We would continue to provide staffing on our busiest days, Friday through Sunday, and holidays. We would not provide staffing on Mondays and Thursdays at our gate facilities. Our other services, such as rental services, are maintained. So what is eliminated is primarily our presence in the park at the gates on Mondays through Thursdays. The financial or proposed budget amendment recognizes that we receive about $170,000 through park entrance fees today. We would reduce our staffing by about $13,000. So our net requested amount of support is an additional $157,000 to eliminate park entrance fees. The funding source for that would be the Commissioner's Contingency Fund. This is an outline, and I don't know, Dave, if you want to step up, otherwise I'll go through this here. The beginning balance for the Commissioner Contingency Funding at the beginning of the year was $600,000. There was some savings regarding to Health and Human Services, which added $146,000 to the Commissioner Contingency. We are proposing to utilize $157,000 to eliminate park entrance fees. And then there's a proposed budget gap fix, if you will, $489,000, which leaves a balance for Commissioner Contingency Funding of $100,000.
I just want to highlight, good morning, Chair and board members. The $600,000 is a one-time budget. That's set aside for 2019. We haven't spent that yet. So just clarifying that the changes that we've been making on the, for ongoing, whether it was HHS, positive, good news related to the reorg or the eliminating park fees, those are ongoing. So that's why it's in one column, because that's what's going to impact us. So going into 2020, the Commissioner contingency will be back to $100,000 for, going forward like we've had in the past. So just this one year we had moved it up. But it's a reminder to the board that we have that in 2019, we do have the $600,000 available in Commissioner contingency. But also remind you can only spend that once. Mary Kay's a stickler on that. So you get to spend it one time. But it is available at this point.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Frischman, so that
Mr.
kind
Dagler.
of leads to the follow-up, basically what happens in the future. We're going to have this $157,000 deficit with the elimination of the park fees. How is that paid for in following years?
That's why we split up into separate columns, because the $600,000 is a number that's going forward. So that always would have been available, except we're now proposing to lower that by the 157 as well as the 489 on a going forward basis. That's been offset by the 146, which is also ongoing. So that's why it's in two separate columns to keep track of what's future ongoing money versus what's one-time money. And one-time money, you have the 600,000. You have the 100,000 going forward because we went from 600 down to 100 going forward in 2020.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I would add that the origin of the 600,000 was, for the past few years, you've had that $100,000 base level in your contingency. You added another % onto the levy, so that was another 500 added onto that during, I think it was December, budget discussions.
So then I have a question for Marty, piggybacking off of Commissioner Dagler's point. So with greater access, the opportunity for, and we don't usually make a great deal of money, but there'll be on programming, but there'll probably be an expansion of programming, and so there could be some funding available through that in the long run to facilitate some of this cost.
Mr. Chair.
Is that a reasonable assumption?
Mr. Chair and members, one of the growing areas of our Parks and Recreation is programming. And so that'll likely continue to increase. But surely this is a significant investment going forward.
Okay. And also that programming doesn't always mean, it's not always done by us, sometimes it's done by the private sector too. Also, is that correct?
Yeah, there's other recreation activities too out there, correct.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Commissioner Workman.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'm assuming, Mr. Walsh, that this isn't to be confused with our park hours changing. The gate is still on there. The gate will close at 10 at night or whatever. So while you can come and go as you want, you won't be at night, correct?
Mr. Walsh.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Workman, yes, our gates are electronic and they open and close at regular hours. So they close at 10 a.m. and during the summer months, we're open at about 5.
Great. Marty, did you want to continue?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. So you've already taken one of the requested actions here, which was to open the public hearing. We would be looking to close the public hearing after you've allowed people to comment. And then a motion to amend the 2019 fee schedule, which would eliminate park entrance fees. And then a motion to approve the budget amendment. And then to direct county staff to deny refunds for annual park permits. So one of the things that we currently do is we issue almost 4,000 annual permits. And we just want to be upfront with folks. That's a task that we couldn't really accomplish very well to prorate 4,000 annual permits.
Very good. Okay, other questions for Marty at this time?
Oh, Mr. Chairman, just to make it clear, if we proceed with this action, the fees will be eliminated starting when?
Effective December 1st. So that allows us a transition period between now and December 1st. We will begin talking with folks as they buy annual permits to make sure that they are aware that is in the future. So they may continue to get good value out of their annual permits if they use it 6 times between now and December. They'll still get great value that way. But after December 1st, then we have switched over to a new system.
So, all right, so we're going to proceed. I want to make sure, though, we'll discuss number 5 at the end. So we do, is there anyone here, it is an open public hearing, is there anyone here who would like to speak to this item? All right, seeing no one, I guess a motion to close the public hearing would be in order unless.
So move.
Okay.
Second?
Commissioner Ishii on closing the public hearing, Commissioner Degler on the second. Is there any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The public hearing is closed. Moving on to a motion to amend the 2019 fee schedule to eliminate park entrance fees might be in order at this time.
So move, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Lynch on the motion, Commissioner Workman on the second. Is there further discussion on that motion? Hearing none, we'll move to the vote. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. All right, that motion prevails. The next motion that would be in order would be to amend the Parks Department budget by $157,000 from Commissioner constituency funds to offset revenue received from park entrance fees. Is there a motion to that effect?
So move. Second.
All right, so Commissioner Workman on the motion, a second by Commissioner Lynch. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. That motion prevails. Item number 5 will be direction from the county board to staff. Is that an issue for anybody here? It would be an administrative burden to us that would be insurmountable and to our staff. So does anybody have any concerns on that direction? Hearing none from the board members, then county staff is directed to deny any refund requests for annual park permits purchased in 2018 or 19 due to the elimination of park entrance fees effective December 1st, 2019. All right? That,
Sure, I'd actually suggest a motion on that.
So moved.
all right, so that motion has been made by Commissioner Workman, second by Commissioner Degler. So we'll make that into a motion for staff to deny refund requests for annual park permits purchased in 2018 and 19 due to elimination of park entrance fees effective December 1st, 2019. Any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. That motion prevails. All right, thank you, Mr. Walsh. I believe that's everything on that issue. Mr. Hemsey, is that correct?
Couple other items.
Just a quick follow-up here.
Please go ahead, Mr.
We'll
Walsh.
begin rolling out communications, and we've been visiting with Eric Steger about a press release coming out with regards to the elimination of fees. We have other public relations and other communications that will be updated. And then we'll be changing some things in our parks. Some things you'll notice, such as signage, and then other things such as our brochures, our printed materials will be updated. And then we will commence a program on December 1st. Thank you, Mr. Chair and members.
All right, well, I'd like to thank staff. This has been something we've been working on for a couple of years. A lot of time and effort went into this, and once again, staff did a wonderful job in bringing this to us and forward and making it work. So thank you very much, Mr. Walsh. I'll let your staff know that also. So I'm sorry, did somebody have something?
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Workman?
Well, while Marty's still there, I don't know that while we talk about these things and we vote on them, I don't know that the general public understands the why. Why are we doing this? We just created a $157,000 gap in a budget. We're dropping revenue. We're throwing the gates of the parks, regional parks open. Why are we doing that, Marty?
Mr. Chair and members, there are kind of what I'd say is kind of a host of reasons. But I'll start from a very broad perspective and kind of drill down just a little bit. Carver County, along with Anoka County and Washington County, are the only three remaining agencies that currently charge an entrance fee into their park system. On a more local scale, we have Three Rivers Park District, which is largely suburban Hennepin County, and Scott County. Our neighbors too are both north and east and south that don't charge fees. We've heard through a number of different public forums, such as the comprehensive plan, where people commented that we really enjoy access to the park. Why are you charging? And it is known that charging fees is a barrier. As I mentioned earlier, it's a great opportunity for someone to, if they need 15, 20 minutes, an hour, in a peaceful setting to regroup, we're providing that for them. And I think we all know about today's pressures in life, and providing those opportunities for what I'd say is relief from stress is a way to, having entrance into the parks is a way to do that. So I think it's a newer model. It's certainly the direction that others have gone and have had great success. And I say that because when they've eliminated fees, it has been proven that our attendance numbers will go up. So one of the factors which may help us with recovering some of the revenue is actually if our park visits do go up, then that'll improve our funding formula with the Metropolitan Council, both with regards to operations and maintenance funding as well as capital improvement dollars. So it helps maintain what I say is a level playing field with others at a minimum, and potentially it improves our position regionally with regards to funding.
Commissioner Workman, thank you for that question. It was a
Well
good
said.
one. You bet. All right.
Mr. If I could,
Commissioner Lynch.
this was a very lively, as you mentioned, we've been talking about it for a couple of years. This was a very lively topic when we brought it up at the Park Commission. And again, Marty has done a wonderful job with this. And that's one of the unintended consequences, Marty touched on it, is that we could have crowded parks. But on the other hand, that's what we're here for. Marty said if you can go there and spend 15 minutes and regroup and before you take on the next step in life, so be it.
Well, mental health is constantly on our agenda, and it seems to have fallen on to counties in our world, and certainly is an insurmountable problem, and we're working hard as other counties, and this could be part of the solution. So I think that's a very valid comment, Commissioner Lynch. So Commissioner Degler.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I think not only was it brought up to the Park Commission, but it was also brought up when the comprehensive plan was discussed. And it was mentioned, hey, what about our park fees? Can we take a look at them? And we heard the public loud and clear, and we've taken action.
Well, and we're already charging them to use the parks. So I guess the only people we're not charging are the ones that don't live here. But we might accumulate some income from them through our programming, so as time goes on. But I think it's a good decision, a good call, and I think you're right. We listened to the people here and did the right thing. And again, we want to thank staff for what they did. Commissioner Ishii, do you have anything on this, or?
I don't know. I think it's all been said what needs to be said, and
All right, we're
Ready to
going to
move
move on
forward.
unless there's more comments. Nope, okay, thank you, Marty, appreciate all your good work on that one, so. Let's see, our next item is 6.2, award construction contract to Rachel Contracting Incorporated for Lake Waconia Regional Park site improvements. And Marty, you have that item also.
And thank you, Mr. Chair and members. We are about to begin, with your approval, construction work for Lake Waconia Regional Park. So just a little bit of background information. The board did authorize the project back in May. Bids were open towards the end of June. The Park Commission made recommendation last month to move forward with the low bidder, Rachel Contracting. Well, the area that we are talking about, and the diagram above here is our park master plan. Within the yellow boxed area is largely what we are terming as our kind of a waterfront development. It's an area in the park that really does receive what I'd say is a high-level, high-density development. It includes the roads, parking lots, stormwater management ponds. It also includes grading for future playground areas where you would have future buildings. So it's an area of mass grading and intense development. So we have not only our parking facilities identified here, but also the DNR is a partner in our process going forward here. So all of this area that's inside of here is the area to be developed, and again, consistent with our master plan. So following up on that, the site improvement, it does achieve the long-term vision for the park. We talked about that it's a highly developed waterfront area. It includes the boat access, the beach, the picnic areas, the parking lots. It is massive site grading. Also to mention, in tandem with our work is other utility work. So the city, maybe you've been by that area lately and through the park, they've constructed silt fence through the park area, and I believe yesterday they actually started excavation for the sanitary sewer, which would come from the city in and through the park, as well as there will be a water line constructed. There's one other utility project, which is the Metropolitan Council Environmental Services Project, and that too is to begin here very shortly. So there'll be a lot of activity within the park. The park does accomplish positive drainage in terms of we try to get water to where it needs to go, so it's not going back into the lake near our swimming area, and gets into the right stormwater treatment facilities. So there are some large stormwater ponds that will be constructed. During this work, we will experience loss of vegetation, but it will be necessary to achieve the envisioned development program. And it is necessary, as I mentioned, to treat stormwater, surface water, and protect groundwater. And we will be replanting the park area. Our construction schedule is scheduled for September 3rd, all the way through June 15th of next year. So it's a substantial project. Mr. Chair and members, we are recommending Rachel Contracting the low bidder, and just to kind of provide a bit of a breakdown as to what's happening here. The main park area, the work that's being done there is about $1.2 million. And then we have our partner from the DNR, their work that's been broken out, which they are contributing, is just about $800,000. We did ask for an alternate bid schedule so that we could manage should our costs become difficult to manage. So we did identify about $400,000 worth of alternatives within the project. We are recommending deleting one of those alternatives, which is lighting for the parking lot facility. So the total contract amount is $2,385,136 and some change. So, Mr. Chair, that's our recommendation, and I'd stand for any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Questions for Marty? Mr. Ishii.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Marty, there's a little bit of I guess it pertains to this, but my first question is, the DNR access, how many parking spots, I should remember this, but I just don't, how many parking spots will there be? Do you know offhand?
I believe there are, our master plan indicated no more than 40, and that was through a public process. This design here, which also includes the AIS water inspection and handicap parking, I believe is 35 vehicles with trailers. And then there's about another, if you can just barely see this, there's about another 8-10, I don't recall the number right offhand, 8-10 pull-in parking stalls for single vehicles without trailers. So if they've got something that they may put in the back of their truck or on top of their hood, whether it's a sup board, or maybe they're doing windsurfing out there, those types of things that they could fit, or if maybe they even have a jet ski or something like that in the back of their pickup. So that's what those stalls are for.
follow up if I could, Mr.
Yes,
Chair.
please, Mr.
I've been contacted by the township supervisors at Lake Township. They've been contacted by some of their residents. Of course, they have the overflow parking on the DNR access over there at 92 and 155 on the northwest side of the lake. Been a problem along the county road there for a long, long time. And I think we actually direct people to jump the curb and park their trucks and trailers there. Do we think that the new DNR access will eliminate most of that or all of that? Or do we have an idea of, I've been out there and I've seen that many times, but I never took the time to count how many trucks and trailers or cars and trailers were parked along there. But I know on a nice weekend, Lake Waconia can be a very busy destination.
Mr. Walsh.
Mr. Chair, members, it will certainly provide additional capacity. We also know the area is growing. What long-term, so I think initially, we are satisfying that demand, but we're also in an area of rapid growth, and Lake Waconia is a very popular place, second largest lake in the metropolitan area.
Commissioner Ishii.
No, that's all I have. It wasn't a fair question to ask in the first place, probably, but I'm just curious. I'm hoping that the DNR access will at least take a big bite out of the county roadway parking along there. And
It was a major safety concern. I
it
believe.
is, yeah, it is.
And,
Thank you.
Marty, I guess with a follow-up on Commissioner Ishii, I mean, is there, we're in a growth, and so is there a plan B for more parking later on, or, I
Mr.
mean, that's in
Chairman.
long-range planning, or you're thinking about it, I'm sure.
Mr. Chair and members, there is the potential where the parking lot could be expanded in the future. It would be in this particular area here. We did take a look at that as kind of a ghost, but it would be, at this point in time, it would be inconsistent with what we have stated publicly through master planning as to create a parking lot for 40. But things change coming in the future, and so that maybe is an opportunity to revisit it then.
It's true, the world changes. Okay, other questions for Marty? Commissioner Degler.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, kind of a follow-up with the DNR question. Will they have their access and all that completed in that same time schedule?
That's
Mr. Walsh.
that's correct, Mr. Chair and Commissioner Degler, is that the contract period is the same.
And, Mr. Chairman.
Follow-up? Go ahead, Commissioner.
Kind of a follow-up, that was a phone call that I received with all the construction going on at Lake Waconia Regional Park. The person was asking, could we reduce the fees that were being charged? And because of the action that we just took in the previous motion, I think they'll be pleased to hear that we have eliminated. And now kind of a follow-up with the action that we took before, how is this going to affect the boat inspections that we've had? Are the inspectors still going to be on the same schedule? I mean, if we don't have anybody at the gate watching, is the inspectors still going to be doing their regularly scheduled timing?
Mr. Walsh.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Degler. So the inspection program, of course, is a separate program from our parks program. That will continue to the extent that there is funding that's available for that program. Here it will add a different dynamic, and I think what you're pointing out here is that by adding another boat access, we do add another area for potential inspection. But the two programs are separate, and so the AIS program will continue as long as the funding is available.
Thank you.
Other questions, comments, concerns? Commissioner Lynch.
This is one of my favorite votes. This is something we've been talking about for quite some time with the land acquisition, in years and years, the planning, and actually getting all the bids together, and it's actually going to happen this year. I'm very excited to be taking this vote.
Also, we should mention, Commissioner Lynch, you are the liaison to the park and rec board, and you spend a little time making sure these things happen along with staff. We don't do anything without staff. County commissioners can't do that, but we know you put a little bit of time in this, and some of the success would fall on your shoulders, sir. So we appreciate your help.
Well, I appreciate that, but I would have to say, to get Marty was juggling 4 different balls here at one point to keep everything with the DNR, and we talked about it at the groundbreaking with not only that, with the Met Council, the county, and, the state with the boat landing, and at the city, and to get all the sewer pipes and to have this all come together. So this was quite a job for Marty, and, well, congratulations, Marty, you're going to take the vote too. You can't hide the smile either.
Yeah, no, it was a major undertaking. We should recognize our board members also. For the park board, they put in extra time, and although they might not be involved in some of the details that Marty is, they're still there for support, and we appreciate their work and their comments and what they do for us. So, any other comments? A lot of work for Waconia Regional Park, and we're moving forward there. So, it's quite a good feeling, quite a good vote. Like you said, it'll be a good feeling vote today. So that's right. So, any other comments? Nope.
Well, Mr. Chairman,
Mr.
this
Workman.
Lake Waconia Park is still not at the level of Lake Minnewaska Park in Chanhassen, which is of course, our jewel. But no, this is a good thing. We got a long way to go. By the way, I found a great diagram of the pavilion, which I'm having a problem with out there. Chaska on Lake Grace is rebuilding their pavilion. We should take a look at that.
Okay, very good. Send it forward. We take a look at that. All right, now, so it would be in order to have a motion to award a contract with Rachel Contracting Incorporated for $2,385,136 in change, pending completion of the contract review process. Do I have a motion to that effect?
I'll move, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Lynch on the motion. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Ishii. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll move on to the vote. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The motion prevails. Yeah, we've got a contract subject to the review process. Thank you, Marty, for all your work again. It's a good day to vote, or it's a good vote today. It feels good to do this, so, all right?
Again, thank you.
And now, and we have the scouts in the audience, what's going to happen here is we're going to go into closed session. And as Mr. Metz can explain to you, that we can do that under law, and some folks are concerned about transparency in government, but there's some things that we have to do in negotiations when obtaining property and other things that we have to keep private until that moves on. So if you had any questions about that, Mr. Metz would be happy to answer them for you at some time. And did we introduce Mr. Metz, our county attorney? He's elected also, not only there's the scouts. So anyway, we'll be going into closed session. After the closed session, we'll be having a work session, folks, to discuss the operations of our license centers. So with that, a motion to go into closed session would be in order.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Motion to go into closed session by Commissioner Degler, second by Commissioner Ishii. Is there further discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. We will go into closed session.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
can I just indicate that the reason for the closed session? and
Yes,
I'll
please
say
do
this for
that.
Participants as well, is that there's a few exceptions that allow boards to go into a closed meeting, because the government wants to be open and transparent so they can get input. But obviously, if there's attorney-client privilege information that the attorney has to provide to its board, it could go into closed meeting. If they have to talk about some disciplinary action, for example, for personnel, we wouldn't want that in the public. If they're talking about negotiations for appraisals. So in this case, there's a statute 13D.05 subdivision 3, parentheses C, which allows the board to discuss confidential appraisal information and offers for property located at 460 Hickory Street in Chaska. So there's parcel numbers, and it's always detailed in a very transparent and open board agenda packet that the public can always get and obtain and look at, and they can come and participate in the open meetings. But this is a matter where the board has to have a discussion and confidence about numbers for appraising for a property.
Okay, do you have any questions, scouts, about that? Okay, all right. Well, we have to ask everybody to clear the room then. So thank you very much for your attendance today, and I hope that it helped you in what you're doing. And certainly, anytime the scouts are welcome here, so that you know they're